to you, Mary Lou. Would you take the same question, legislative size and cost?
Oh, absolutely downsize. Right now, you heard that I'm vice chair of Plymouth Council, and we are spending wisely. We haven't raised taxes in over 14 years in that township. You know, we need, yes, absolutely downsize, and the per diems, and the cars. It has to be run like a business. You have to work within your means. You know, and even, you know, I think there's other things that we can do to also cut costs, government costs. So my answer is absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate, your turn on downsizing legislature.
Thanks. Pennsylvania has about, we think 13 million people. That's what the next census, which we just came through, will show, I believe. I represent 60,000 people as a House member. And Stewart represents, I think, 240,000, roughly. In Montgomery County, because we live so close to one another, it would probably not be a hardship for you to go visit Rick Taylor's office in Horsham instead of my office in Bluebell. So we probably could eliminate some of the seats. The person who has the office next door to me in Harrisburg, however, Tina Pickett, has 3 counties to find her 60,000 people, because Pennsylvania's rural areas are very, very rural and very less populated than it is down here. Tina would have 6 counties and 120,000 people if you cut the legislature in half. So I would support a move if that's what the voters want to do. I think it would wreak a hardship on rural Pennsylvania, but down here I think you'd be okay. So I would be all right with that. It would require legislation, and then a constitutional change does require a vote of all of you. So, I mean, those are the issues. Pennsylvania is also one of only 4 full-time legislatures, and I think at the same time we should probably think about whether or not full-time is the way to go. It is the reason that we have so many staffers and basically so much to do. Of course, our population of Pennsylvania is much larger than many states, and our budget at $29 billion, that's a B, is certainly not something that we should be working on the fly. We're a big business here in Pennsylvania, and we do need to give it the attention and time it deserves. Thank you.
Thank you all for that. I think we'll go to the next question now. And I have you down first for this, Mary Lou. And we've been here a little bit already. It's campaign finance reform. Pennsylvania is among the few states that allow companies or individuals to donate as much as $25,000 or even $250,000 to a candidate's campaign. Recently, such sums were allegedly contributed by the gas industry to certain legislative leaders who stayed away from negotiations on a proposed Marcellus gas tax bill. Question: does the foregoing indicate a need for additional campaign finance reform? If so, what areas of reform are needed, and how would you support achieving it?
Well, I do think, again, I'm not a typical politician, and so I see the things that are just outrageous to me and just blows my mind. What campaigns and what this past campaign needed to raise to get the word out, and what past campaigns raised triple what I raised. So it's obscene to me, it really is. And somebody, came up to me and said, you know what, good people like you, Mary Lou, it's hard for them to run because you can't raise the $240,000. Obscene, obscene. So this campaign that I am running, we are doing it very reasonable. But I definitely think that there should be a limit, that there should be a cap, and especially on the interests, the special interest groups. Because you don't want the special interest groups to represent your thoughts and your feelings. You want somebody that's been in your homes, somebody that's been walking around your neighborhood, somebody that's just like you, knowing your feelings and your thoughts and taking it to Harrisburg. So absolutely, again, I would love to see a reform in campaign financing. Thank you.
Do you have any idea how you would go about that?
Well, when I get to the House, I will be making a lot of noise, believe me.
Kate, you get that question.
Thank you very much. Actually, Pennsylvania's come a long way in letting people know who's giving what money to whom. Right now, if you want to go on the state's website, you can search by the name of the candidate, you can search by the name of the donor, and you can find out exactly who's giving what money to whom. Make your own judgment as to whether that's influencing their legislating. You can also do that at the local level. It's a little harder. In fact, my opponent accepted a lot of money from special interests and then passed an ordinance in Plymouth Township that was directly related to campaign contributions that she received. You can look it up on the website and check it out for yourselves. I think transparency is the secret. Last year, the governor wanted a Marcellus Shale severance tax and pulled it off after a private meeting with industry members and a lot of campaign contributions. If those things are influencing government in Pennsylvania, the voters need to know about them and take appropriate action. Thanks.
And what would the action be?
It would be not electing those folks who react to special interest contributions and pass laws that are not good for the general public.
But not a law limiting the amounts.
I don't think that's half as necessary as knowing who's giving what money to whom and what actions they take after they get the money.
I think it's your turn, Ruth.
I always said in my next life I want to come back and address campaign finance reform because it's really a serious problem. You know, we just had the U.S. Supreme Court pass the United Supreme Court decision, which I think was truly detrimental to our democracy in this country, enabling corporations to be as like individuals and being able to, in Pennsylvania, to donate unlimited amounts of money. Several years ago when Governor Rendell ran, he raised $42 million. This current Republican gubernatorial candidate has raised almost $1 million from natural gas companies, and yet he says he wasn't influenced, but he doesn't support a tax. So, you know, it's very complicated, but like Mary Lou said, truthfully, I don't have a lot of my own personal wealth. I've had to raise money. I am very proud of the money that I have raised. It is not very much compared to what my opponent has raised. And when I did have an opportunity, and I think that's great to be able to look on the state country, what's it called? The online, as far as you can see the campaign contributions, and from January through June of 2010, that 93% of my opponents' campaign funds came from special interests. 95% of my money during that period, and I haven't seen, we just closed another period, that 95% of my money came from individuals. And it's very difficult when you are not an incumbent, when you are trying to run and to be able to get your message out. Kate said that she has 63,000 approximately. A state senate has 240,000 people. I cannot knock 187,000 voters' doors. And therefore, the only way I can get my message out is through mailers or information. And it is wrong, and we need to cap and limit campaign contributions. It is detrimental to our democracy.
Ruth? Well, Stewart, you get to clean up on this.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I think we need some reforms, and I think it's important to do that. I would echo what Kate said, that transparency is all important when we're dealing with those issues. I've been on the end where I was challenging an incumbent, and I've been on the end where I've been the incumbent. And some of those laws help the challenger, some of the laws hurt the challenger. It's really when you say special interest groups, they are actually, everyone's a special interest group. There are all types of people. The Boy Scouts lobby us. There are all types of people lobby us. And so I think it's inaccurate to say that all of my monies come from special interest groups when those people are the people who are involved in talking to you. Our neighbors talk to us, and they're involved in all kinds of groups, and also that's the political process. And I think it's a point of how much who are supporting you, and support your views. That's what happens with that. If you don't support the views, they're not going to be contributing money to your campaign. And I don't run away from that at all. I mean, that's the process that we have. We have to have monies in order to run a campaign. And I think I've done that successfully in all different ways, from knocking on doors to other more sophisticated things.
Thank you. Next question that we'll turn to. Kate, I think you have to lead off on deficits.
Thanks a lot.
Pennsylvania is having trouble paying for essential government services. In addition to the drop in tax revenue, we have unfunded federal spending mandates that seem likely to increase. Faced with further deficits, what would you propose in Harrisburg? Increase certain taxes, cut certain expenditures, or just wait it out? Please be specific.
I think I'd do a combination of all three if I were king and not running for state rep. But let's take what I can do as a state representative. One of the most important things that we do every year is the budget. As I said before, in Pennsylvania, it's got to be balanced, no deficit spending, and we don't print money. I think we have to do a combination of trimming back increases in spending. I mean, over the last 10 years that I've been in Harrisburg, every single year we have increased K through 12 education. It's a very large part of the budget, and we spend a lot of money, billions and billions of dollars. If we could rein in the rate of increase, we might be able to do more with less in that area. In addition, I backed the Marcellus Shale as long as a certain amount of that money was set as Marcellus Shale severance tax. As long as a certain amount of that money was set aside for the environmental programs, the Hazardous Sites Cleanup Fund, just in case we have an accident, and the local governments in the area that is affected. Of course, there would be some money left over from that if the rate were reasonable to cover some budget shortfalls. And we will have budget shortfalls, and we're going to have to cut. I personally, as I said, voted no in the last two budgets. I didn't like where the cuts were made and where the increased spending was made. You know, we could have taken the $10 million for the Arlen Specter Library, spread that out among all the libraries in Pennsylvania, and done a lot better with that money. So I think you have to make wise spending decisions, as well as